Hi and welcome. I'm Lisa. Thanks for joining me here on the Whimsy Stamps YouTube channel. So today I have a quick card process that I'm going to be sharing with you, and we're going to jump right into this. I'm going to start by cutting a piece of black cardstock on the 4-inch mark. We're going to run this through the die cut machine with the Slimline Postage die. I'll hang on to the rest of that cardstock because it's the perfect size now for a slimline card base. We're going to run that through the die cut machine, bring it back, and we're going to use a low tack tape and secure this down in our Thatched Slimline embossing folder. Now, once we have that in place, we'll take our white pigment ink up the inside of the embossing folder. Now, you're using white pigment ink, so you need to be careful. The pad is spongy. If you push down too hard, it will seep down into your embossing folder. And it'll come out with some water, no problem, but it's just a little bit harder to clean up. So I just go light-handed with that, tapping it all along the embossing folder. We're going to close it, grab our brayer, and brayer over this. Now let's talk real quick about that low tack tape I'm using. That is actually Scotch removable tape. Amazing stuff. It uses the same adhesive technology as Post-it notes and Post-it tape. So it's very low tack. It doesn't leave a residue behind on your cardstock. It doesn't tear your cardstock. I've used it for this technique. I've used it to hold dies while I'm die cutting, and I've had great luck with it, and it's not expensive. $3 and some change a roll. The rolls are 3/4 of an inch wide, and you get 36 yards of tape on one roll. It fits in a regular size tape dispenser. So I just have one of those sitting on my desk with that removable tape in it. Loving the stuff. So here you get a quick look at our black cardstock with our white thatched design on it. It's so pretty. Pigment ink takes a while to dry because it sits on top of the paper. So we need to set that in a safe place and just let it dry. I stamped my images onto Bristol Smooth cardstock with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'm going to go ahead and color these up really quick. There's no fancy coloring with this because this image, once you stamp it, it tells you all the areas that need to be darker. And so I'm just coming in with my Zig Clean Color pens and I'm laying down mustard wherever that image is telling me I need it to be a darker color. And then I'm using my yellow in the lighter areas. And of course, I'm using my blender pen to pull that yellow color out and up each section of that beehive. I'm going to color a little bit of the mustard and yellow on each of the bees that I'm using. I end up using only 3 of those. Plus, I come in with olive green and mid green to color the leaves, and then a little bit of yellow green on the center of the flowers, and that's all I do to color that image. I want to create a background to go behind our black cardstock. So I'm using the Honey Drip stencil, one of my favorites, and I'm using dye ink. This is Memento Cantaloupe ink, and you know I prefer dye inks when I'm stenciling. I think you get a softer look with it, but the edges of where you're stenciling is much sharper. So I prefer the dye inks, but if you prefer Distress Oxide inks, by all means use them. It doesn't matter what ink you use. Just go ahead and stencil up some white cardstock. We're going to trim it down to fit on the back side of our black cardstock that's dry now. And we're adding mounting foam to that so we can have a little bit of dimension between our stenciled background and our slimline postage die cut piece. So what I've done now is I went ahead and created my card base with Nina Desert Storm cardstock. And I also took the 4 inches that was left over from cutting that slimline card base and ran that through the Thatched embossing folder. So adhesive to the back of that embossed piece of paper, center it up on our card base, come in with my gold jelly roll, and just randomly, only along the outer edges because the rest of it's going to be covered up, randomly just lightly go over a few of those raised areas. It just adds a nice little touch to your card. So liquid adhesive to the back of our black cardstock here with the stenciled background, and then we'll center that up on our card base as well. After that, it's so simple. It's just a matter of deciding where you want to put each one of your images. So mounting, square mounting foams, and we'll go ahead and add that beehive to the bottom of the card and then play around with the placement of your bees. Wherever you want them, just go ahead, add you some mounting foam to them and go ahead and stick them on that card. Now for my sentiment, I actually used a sentiment from a different stamp set. I went ahead and stamped that onto white cardstock, trimmed it down with my paper trimmer, and that's going to wrap us up. Let me know what you think about the card in the comments below. As always, I have the products linked for you. You can hop over to my website to check out more information if you would like. And as always, until next time, take care.